Kraven the Hunter movie review begin now! Hello, hunters.
We've seen the movie.
The Kraven the Hunter. His name is Sergei Kravenov.
Yeah, with the most, like, generic sans serif title drop. They put a little bit of, like, grungy stuff on it, but it was like...
His name is Sergei. It had really good trailers.
The trailers before the movie, yes, were largely
I really
want to
see Damned.
That one, I wasn't really sure what it was about, and therefore I didn't care.
I mean, I don't know, it's one of those, like, ye olde gothic horrors that I kind of like. I mean, not less gothic, but more like village, sort of like the Vavitch.
Folk horror.
Folk horror, yeah.
Yeah, the 28 years later one was, like, very creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Followed immediately by, hey, kids!
Yeah, we saw a very effective trailer for 28 Years Later, when, like, had a lady, like, rhythmically speaking in a way that was very creepy. And
it's a good trailer.
Gets your heart rate up.
It fills with anxiety.
Then it cuts to black for a few seconds, and then Sonic the Hedgehog shows up, hey, guys! And
turn off your phones!
I couldn't help myself. I laughed. I think the loudest I laughed throughout the entire...
It scared the shit out of me, because, like, we had seen scary movie, and then Sonic was just
trailers.
there.
I'm eating well today.
Yeah, I turned to Stephan and was like 4 trailers in and said, oh, is Kraven rated R? Mm-hmm. That's why there's so many.
That's part of why it's going to make even less money than Madam Web.
Yeah.
I'm willing to say that, just bet that right now.
I watched Madam Web this morning.
Upon my recommendation, because I finally saw Madam Web.
You know what? It felt like one of those things where I had to be kind of filled in on the cinematic universe. Nothing ever played into it. Other than the spiders, Sergey! The spiders!
I love Madam Web. It is probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, and I was entertained the whole way through.
It was too boring for me. It had some weird stuff going on, but where I will give Kraven credit, it did have some goofy, stupid, like, actually kind of fun action scenes that I really liked.
If it had done more of that, I think there were, like... And also, the third action was just not very fun. But in the first, the other 2 action scenes, no, 3 action scenes were pretty silly and therefore fun.
I mean, I think the highlights were like the opening, like that whole scene where it actually felt like they really had a real identity for Kraven. Before the
it might have made for an all right short film.
They released the whole 8 minutes on YouTube for a reason, because it is a pretty fun prison scene.
Yeah.
And then the entire chase scene with a character that he's trying to chase later on, I felt like was really good with the helicopter. I thought that entire sequence was amusing action.
I thought that entire sequence was a lot of ripping off of things Captain America has done.
Kind of, but it also did like this really goofy stuff. I love every time that he went down and started doing his scamper.
Yes.
Those were the best.
I guess we should probably try and take things in order just so we can like hit every point and not confuse people. Because the fact is, people who are watching this have not seen the movie and will not see the movie.
That's fine. I'm going for my non-spoilers first. We can go chronological in a second here.
Okay, well then, if you care about spoilers, you don't. And
honestly,
also,
you probably don't.
It's a shit movie. Wait for streaming and then watch it with friends and like do whatever you do to have fun riffing movies.
Yeah,
that's the most you should do.
Get high.
Honestly, yeah, not really worth the theater experience.
It's good that this kind of movie from Sony is dead.
We originally got tickets for one of those like sit in the theater, they punch you in the back of the head, they roll you around,
they spray smells at you,
and it got canceled.
Yeah,
we think because not enough tickets got sold.
It's funny. I bought the because I previewed it because we're doing the fucking Kraven series. Why the hell not? Let's review the movie.
Sponsored by Sony.
It's not sponsored. It's not sponsored.
It was never sponsored.
They wouldn't sponsor that.
Why would they want us to say these things about him?
But so I bought the tickets. I'm like, oh, the 4DX. I've never done one of those before. You know what? Let's at least add that little bit of fun to this. I got a message about a week or so later after I pre-purchased those tickets saying like, you've been refunded. I'm like, what? I didn't ask for a refund. What happened? Oh, they canceled the showing because I was the only one who bought any tickets to it and consolidated it into one showing at 10:30 p.m. This is nearly a 3-hour movie. I'm not out at 1 a.m. for Kraven.
And then we also wanted to do this afterwards. So yeah, there's no way.
Can you imagine if we had sat through that and then at like 1 in the morning we were sitting here like...
Now, I might have actually been weirdly perkier than you guys. But
that's fair.
I'd go to bed at like normal daytime animal hours.
You would have been much grumpier.
Yeah, because I go to bed at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and I think you're on the same schedule, Stephan.
Today it was on and off starting at 7.
We're about 3 hours from my normal bedtime right now.
Yeah,
so.
But
so we're putting him to bed after this.
The spoiler free is just don't see the movie. Don't give it your money.
Don't go to the theater.
Wait for streaming and then make fun of it. And if you have other ways of watching it that don't involve paying for it, you can do that. We can't recommend you do that.
I will say that I'm just gonna give small highlights. I liked a lot of the goofy action stuff. Just for me, I think it's stupid fun. It's the kind of stupid action that I find charming in a movie like this.
Every once in a while, when they actually went over the top, which wasn't that much, unfortunately.
And there were a few choice shots that I actually kind of enjoyed, even during the action scenes. The camera would make a choice. They'd have him in the horizon, punching somebody in silhouette. Then he'd go down for a second and stand up, showing that he's part of the land. But that gets into a problem that we'll have a little later when we discuss spoilers.
The cinematographer was really doing their best.
At least when they weren't doing reshoots. It was evident when they were doing reshoots because the script was worse. People like Aaron Taylor Johnson was wearing more clothes because my God, did the man get cut for this role? Holy shit!
He didn't drink any water.
He put in the fucking work.
Damn,
good for you, dude.
He takes off his shirt twice, and that's the part that I liked.
He was fucking cut.
Yeah, and again, he hadn't drank water for a week. it was really intense.
For those two specific shots where they were really glorified.
I hope they got them both in a day.
Yeah, they're at the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie.
I think that's our spoiler-free thing. But the thing is, you're not here to be told whether or not you want to watch it. You already know you don't want to watch it. You're here to watch us riff it. So I think going through and letting people know what happens in the movie, so we're not just talking abstractly.
I do think there are beats that kind of help here. When we say that the movie is inconsistently written, it might be one of the worst screenplays I've seen in a while.
Not the worst, but it's so clumsy in a way where I was personally rewriting the film in real time.
A hunter has a list, Calypso. A hunter has a list.
The most common things you'll hear in this movie are the name Calypso.
The hunter has a list.
The hunter has a list. When you're on the list, you can't get off it.
And also,
they say that 4 times.
And also the phrase, I am a hunter.
Yes.
They say that so much.
They say that so much.
That should have just been the catchphrase.
And simple screenwriting no-nos, like really bad exposition where people explain things they already know to each other, and one character goes, I know this. It's then why are you talking about it?
I already know that. Or scenes where it's can you help me with this? No. And then later on they do that exact thing. You had this the whole time? I lied.
Yeah.
What was that scene?
Very false tension, but and the exposition is some of the clumsiest I've seen in a long time.
It's 40 minutes too long. It is 40 minutes too long.
I was thinking 30 to 40, yeah. Because the movie starts with an 8-minute scene that is all right, where it establishes
Kraven goes into the prison to hunt down a target.
Now, it's not all right for Kraven because his thing is not I hunt down bad people. His thing is I look for challenges to test my strength.
Yeah,
this movie's not about Kraven, to be clear.
This is which is ultimately the biggest issue with the movie is it's not telling a Kraven story. It's telling.
Well, I think we'll get into what.
That's fine.
That could be a reveal for the audience because I think we're gonna get into it with
Needless to say, this is not Kraven the villain. This is not
or any version of Kraven you've ever seen because he's not Kraven.
He's not a hunter. He hunts people. That's it. He hunts bad people. He's Jason Statham in the Beehive or whatever the fuck that beekeeper. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Beehive. Jason Statham is a beehive.
So you like jazz?
They just make it very. They make it. He's such a milquetoast character. I
thought you were gonna say he's such a MILF, and I was like, where?
Such a MILF.
We didn't talk about that.
No, the movie opens with a whole sequence where he sneaks into a prison.
Doesn't sneak in. He's just brought in and he goes to his target.
He infiltrates a prison, and then kills a crime boss, and then has a big escape where you see him climb things as if he is Spider-Man. It's like he has no handholds, but he still manages to free climb anything.
He climbs like that one bad guy in Baki who can like climb onto like sheer walls with his pure grip strength. He's a Baki character.
Yeah, but and he climbs on he like crawls on all fours like a fucking weirdo,
scampering like a little kitty.
Yes, he's very cat-like in this, and I loved Kitty Cat.
They had a thing where he was always landing on all fours, and we'll get into why and who this character actually is. But and then from there, it just jumps. He talks to a lady on a helicopter who we never find out who that is, because you would assume that it's a character from later, but it's not. It can't be. So
it's Madam Web, as we said in the car, and then we're like, oh wait, she's blind.
But no, it's not the pilot. He's not talking to the pilot.
It's not Madam Web that he's talking to. Though.
No, I'm not saying it's not Madam Web. I'm not saying it is Madam Web.
It could still be Madam Web.
I'm just saying. I don't like. It's just if they're setting up a universe.
The problem is there are so many superfluous characters in this movie.
Oh yeah,
way too many. There's an entire villain that could be cut from the movie, and I wouldn't blink.
Yeah.
And also, the villain was slowing down the film by doing repetitive things,
but like re-explaining the plot, just doing from there it goes to a good 20 to 30 minutes of backstory of Kraven as a teenager, as a young boy, then a teenager, then as a Jesus, and
also backstory for a completely separate character we have no reason to care about yet, and they don't give us a good reason.
It's the brother.
Calypso, who they name drop a lot.
Calypso, I am your grandmother. Take this, and this is your tarot card reading. You will find a boy. He's going to get hurt.
Calypso.
She kept saying her name. Like the thing is, it only happened like twice. 2 lines in a row had her end a line with Calypso.
No, she said it had to be 3 times.
Yeah, I think.
And then later she did it again, but it became very funny.
What are you doing, Calypso? Here, let me give you this, Calypso. Now, do you understand why this is Calypso? And then they brought it up again.
It was twice. I added the Calypso on the third one because we all keyed into it.
I heard it like every time she ended a line.
Because we kept saying it because it immediately set off our screenwriting senses of like, why the fuck would you do that?
I wish the movie was out right now so I could like cut to editor Jesse, but it's not. We don't know. Go see the movie and tell us.
I am literally 100% confident I'm correct.
I'll take your word on it.
Pay for the movie and tell us he's right.
It's a very bad exposition, and also, okay, they.
I'm just remembering it now.
The whole, like, most of that sequence takes place in Ghana, and they have this woman who's eventually played by Ariana DeBose. They have this girl's grandmother talk about voodoo. Like African voodoo. She even name drops Papa Legbot. They never mention voodoo, but they still appropriate other people's culture and their symbols to give this white guy superpowers.
Yeah.
Which Kraven does not have in the comics. Like,
it depends on your version of Kraven. There's a lot of times where he's been like juiced up by like chemicals and stuff like that. So
yeah, I guess it's not Kraven, the ideal version of Kraven.
His dad basically he goes out and he's always been like connected with animals. He loves the outdoors. He loves his mama, who his dad drove away to suicide. And Russell Crowe, who is probably one of the stronger parts of this movie, is just grumpy old abusion dad.
Yeah, he calls her mentally weak for committing suicide. Mm-hmm. And
he is the toxic character that Kraven usually is.
And they repeat that quote like 3 more times in his head, in Kraven's head. And he has a younger brother named Dimitri who's he's a soft boy who doesn't fight.
So they're out there and he's like, your mother's dead. We are going to go hunt lion to prove how real man you are. So they go hunt lion. Lion find Kraven. Kraven like, no. Lion friend.
He connects it with his eyes, but then his dad shoots the lion anyway. And then the lion grabs Kraven and like runs off with him.
Yeah, just carries away. It's my child now.
Yep.
So the lion bleeds in Kraven's lion wounds. And then he's saved by the girl with the magic voodoo.
Calypso.
Yeah, Calypso. Saved by Calypso with the magic voodoo powers. And then he becomes part animal, and he becomes the Beastmaster.
He's a kitty cat now.
They literally give him Beastmaster powers.
From this point on, he can communicate with animals. He has all of the abilities of the animal kingdom. He's Land Aquaman.
He has Assassin's Creed style eagle vision.
Yeah, we see him like look at a car, and then it will like do that 90s ass zoom.
but with like hawk eyes, like
bazooka, cigarette.
He's smoking a cigarette. What a fiend!
and yeah, they would every time, like, he can see really far like a hawk, and they cut to hawk vision every single time.
I've never felt more like I want to recycle and save the environment. And then after seeing this,
you don't want to get hunted down by the Kraven.
I would, yeah. Oh well, I wouldn't mind that. I've never found this man attractive except when he's like a kitty cat maniac. Is that weird? Yeah.
When he's like the woman from Always Sunny.
Which one?
She calls herself Bastet later. He's like,
I don't think I've seen
that. Maureen Ponderosa.
I didn't know she gets magic powers later.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yes. But anyway.
Mystery episode.
Yeah, so he becomes the Beastmaster, and then the movie takes like a massive fucking step back as he like essentially goes off into the wilds to power level his like Wild Heart Barbarian stats for a bit.
But not before his dad shows him that he found the lion and cut off its head.
Now you never have to be afraid again.
And then Tina Kraven turns around and goes, "Should have killed you! Should have killed you!"
It's funny though, because that delivery was ridiculous, but it really read teenage boy to me. Like how you're just contained this whole time.
I don't mind that choice. It is just kind of funny in the context of the rest of the movie.
And they also established Dimitri can mimic voices. And anyone who knows comic book stuff is like, okay,
they
all right.
introduced Dimitri and Alexei very early on. It's like Rhino.
Yeah, Rhino and Chameleon.
But then it's like, okay, so they're being subtle about it. No,
they stopped being subtle.
Later on, when Alexei's like singing in a bar, it's like, boy can imitate any voice. He is like chameleon.
Dimitri is the worst villain of all, a voice actor.
I thought that's what they were going to do for a while. Just have him be like, have the cast an impressionist, but now they just ADR it.
He shows up to you at a con, is like, I can.
And they never really do.
I can do Edward Elric.
Let me do a Family Guy impression.
Yeah. Hold on, I can do Rick. I'm Pickle Rick.
And funny enough, I love this actor because it's Fred. His name starts with H.
He was good. I like him.
He's from the Fear Street movies. He's in Gladiator 2. He's in Thelma, that really good action movie starring the 96-year-old woman. Like, he's a good actor.
The biggest problem is they never give him anything.
Yeah.
He has no involvement in the plot other than to be a damsel in distress.
I can tell that the actor's good because he's working with the material better than most people in the movie. And like I think the majority of people in the movie are good actors who I've seen be good in other things.
I think Aaron Taylor Johnson really did the part he was given in this very shallow script.
Yeah, he was just given nothing.
Everyone's trying their best.
No, they're going for, even Russell Crowe, he's kind of sleepwalking through it, but not too much.
The script is the part that really held it back.
Oh yeah,
the script and the edit.
This movie had 3 screenwriters, but 1 story by credit, which means there was a guy who wrote the original screenplay, and then people kept coming in to fix it, most likely.
It. Because
at the producer's behest.
This movie was supposed to be out 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So they reshot, rewrote, re-edited who knows how much out of this. Maybe there was a semi-decent movie in there somewhere.
I think there was a better movie.
Yes, there absolutely
I'm not sure there was a good movie, but there was a better one, even just in the edit.
Yes.
Which, there are points in this film where you can tell, they're really, cutting it down as best they can.
There's a whole character. They introduced this guy who I guess is related to one of the people that Kraven killed. I think it was the mob boss in prison is who he alluded to being related to or something.
One of them.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out who it was, but I don't know comics very well.
He called himself
Hitman.
He called himself the Foreigner. And the guy that Kraven killed was called the Hitman. He's like, he was my cousin or brother. I don't give a fuck.
His brother.
Yeah. And he has the ability to, I guess, hypnotize people and Zawarudo them for 3 seconds and then attack them.
Yeah, it is literally Zawarudo, huh?
Yeah. So, I mean, it looks kind of cool in a few shots. I like how they play with it, but he is a useless character.
It's kind of neat at first, and then they don't do anything creative with it after that first scene.
As soon as I saw him, I'm like, this guy's not going to add anything to the movie. The first scene I saw him, I'm like, he's not adding anything. And I was right, because this movie only needed Rhino to be the villain.
Yeah.
That's all they needed.
And even then, I think the actor was really giving it as much camp as he could.
He was a freak, and I loved it.
Yeah,
but
a goofy little freak.
But the Rhino sucked too.
Yeah.
I did not mind the Rhino. I don't think you're ever going to get a the Rhino's the main villain of a Spider-Man movie vibe. So
no, the Rhino's not
Kraven. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, no, the Rhino's not a main villain guy ever.
I would die for Paul Giamatti. How dare you? I want him to be the
There's
main
a reason
villain.
he bookends that film.
I want him to be the main villain in Spider-Man 4. I think that'd be hilarious if all of a sudden Paul Giamatti Rhino is there.
But I do legitimately get frustrated. Speaking of like these MCU Spider-Man films, I get really frustrated thinking that Sony nixed the third Spider-Man film featuring Kraven in a story where Spider-Man's being hunted in order to do this shit and to jerk themselves off on their way home.
That is the big bother, because they didn't do a Kraven movie. Again, they made him Beastmaster.
This isn't
for
Kraven.
no reason. He's not hunting for the he's not even hunting. Like, he hunts prizes. He's a prize hunter. Well, he hunts for the challenge.
Yeah, he wants to be the strongest and prove he's the strongest, and that's why he hunts. And yeah, like that's just not an aspect of this character in any way. They didn't even bother.
No. Like, he takes no pride, and he's like, I kill bad people, and like, I have a list, and when you're on the list, you never get off it.
Does he have a list?
He has a list.
He's just fucking Beastmaster meets Dexter, and like, who gives a shit?
This could have been a Beastmaster movie. I don't think it would have been any better for it. I mean, maybe it would have been shorter.
They wouldn't have filled it with so many like origin stories, because
there are so many unnecessary characters. It felt like backdoor pilots everywhere. Like, oh, look at this. Here's a hook. Oh, maybe we can make a cinematic universe out of the chameleon.
Yeah, no, like they end this film on revealing that he's the chameleon, which we already knew. They kept saying it,
and he has his butt face. Like,
he has the comic accurate butt face, and like they have that be a sequel hook, and it's like, you guys knew you weren't getting a sequel, didn't? If you didn't, you're stupid. I'm sorry. Like, I'm never getting work from producers at Sony.
No, it's good.
This was it was an unnecessary sequel hook by far. It felt like Return of the King, where it didn't know where to end. It kept having scene after scene after scene, and they finally decided to end it on by the way, Dad got you something. And we had a conversation with a dude in the hallway after the movie about this. Every time that he like cut back to his his relationship with his father and like a place where it's torn, the part where they like separate on is like the honor of like, you know, being one with the world and trying to put good into it, or being a bad guy and killing things. And it always goes back to the lion he killed. And it's like, Dad got you something. It's literally the lion's head turned into a vest. The thing he's been pushing against the whole time, and he puts it on. He's like, I need to do the pose now.
Yeah, he does his iconic pose from a comic cover, and it doesn't make any sense in character with the character they've established, because he literally has his father killed at the end of the movie by a bear.
One of his bear friends kills the dad.
Yeah, but he's shirtless and he's in the jacket, and so I forgot all the bad things about the movie.
What about when he got shot with the venom poison by the unnecessary dude who literally
not that venom, just venom.
Yeah, just poison.
Poison.
He gets shot with nightmare poison, scarecrow venom, basically. Scarecrow toxin, that one, and which is the only reason I think that 3, 2, 1 hypnosis guy existed, was for him to get the spiders scene.
Yeah, to reveal that his fear is spiders.
He's afraid of spiders.
How convenient.
His mom was scared of spiders. Maybe Madam Web corrupted her brain to make her afraid of spiders.
Because like they were still somehow under the impression that they'd somehow get Morbius, Vulture, Venom. I don't know, depending on how the third one ended, but like
Madam Web,
bring
her into the Sinister.
Madam Web would help Spider-Man, but like Kraven,
we can change her. Kraven's different
into a new Sinister Six.
Yeah, into a new Sinister Six that would, I guess, fight maybe the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
That's the only way I could think of. Is like,
but like. Nobody wants that. And also, you can't do that because you established a completely different Rhino that you immediately killed off, who's not Paul Giamatti.
But like, man, I don't get it. They had the whole animated like Enter the Spider-Verse thing. Like, you've introduced the idea of there must be some weird contract stuff where they literally can't use Spider-Man in anything else other than the animated film. Like that must be an exception or something.
I mean, I imagine it's like the deal they have with Marvel, whatever is on paper, is like
a movie.
Our MCU Spider-Man is separate from that one until our deal is done. But the thing is, the MCU is making Sony the only thing making Sony money from Spider-Man. So they're gonna keep signing those deals as long as Tom Holland says yes.
Yeah. So, God, it's just such a goddamn.
I mean, it's such a clearly bad idea from the get-go. But the thing is, like, and I'm going to go on this rant now. Sony has been desperate for like 10 to 15 years to have their own cinematic universe, and they have nothing that lends itself to it. The best they have is Ghostbusters, which they have not really managed to make into a cinematic universe, despite that they are definitely trying. And they are making people relatively happy, but they still haven't figured out how to turn it into a cinematic universe.
They're decent movies.
Sure.
I like them.
They annoy me, but
what doesn't?
I can't get into my feelings on Ghostbuster Afterlife. But yeah, but they're like, the only thing we really have is all these Spider-Man characters, but also. We signed a deal with MCU that's making us a shit ton of money, so we don't want to compromise that.
These characters.
So we're gonna try and make a cinematic universe out of Spider-Man's villains.
We still have Venom, and now he's done.
And yeah, and the only thing the one that kind of worked was the first 2 Venom films, and like in terms of monetarily.
Okay.
The only thing that kind of worked in being something that made them money. And they've ended that. The 3rd Venom film ends that story. So now they're just and they were desperately trying to turn the Sinister Six into like its own thing where they could build a story around that somehow. And of course you can't do that if you're not thinking like a money-hungry producer. You know that.
How can you not when you launch it with Morbius?
Well, then it's just a thing where it's just anybody with a mind for like what audiences actually care about and want would know that this wasn't going to play. But they weren't thinking about what do audiences want. They were thinking about what can we try and make audiences want, which is not how you make movies that people watch.
Yeah, that's like how you parent children and make them eat vegetables.
Because they didn't even approach us with how do we make the best film, because clearly that was not the goal. Otherwise, they would have made different movies.
This seemed like the kind of movie I'd really like when I was 12.
That's possible. In the same way that I liked Alien vs. Predator when I was like 12.
Yeah, no, I think I would have.
The only Alien film I've seen.
I would have loved this when I was a kid.
Yeah, I would have watched the shit out of this as like a young teen, like preteen.
Yeah, the same way like watched Van Helsing.
Here's the thing: I can still unironically enjoy Van Helsing. I will stand that movie.
I can definitely enjoy Van Helsing.
Yeah, I will.
Unironically is not in there, but
I will continue to stand that movie.
But yeah, Stephen Sommers also has like more of a flair for like, let's just get wacky with it and make something really fun. And this movie was like serious. There's so many talking scenes.
It leaned away from that too much. There were way too many scenes of like, I'm a hunter, I have to hunt, and I'm just sitting there thinking, then fucking hunt!
No, yeah, they like the thing is like when they did the like crazy R-rated action, it was kind of fun. But they did that very little in the film. Most of this movie is them pretending they're making some grand crime drama. And they're not. It's not good enough to be that.
We paid for Russell Crowe. We're using Russell Crowe.
Interestingly, I was almost kind of in it when it was literally just Kraven and his brother and his dad like going to a birthday party.
It's because it was less convoluted.
And the actors kind of got to act off each other and like do some stuff, and like I was kind of getting into it.
You're not going to hug your old man, but a handshake.
And then it led into an action sequence that was actually kind of fun. I was like, okay, I'm getting into this like one part of the movie.
Him trying to track down the people that are stealing his brother. I liked that scene. The goofiness of it, everything. His kitty scampering, his like climbing onto the van, his holding onto it, trying to break into it, catching up to the helicopter, using the net to wrap it around.
I was so worried he was going to kill his brother. I was so scared because he's up in the helicopter.
You didn't know he was the chameleon.
Crashes it, you know. I was like, Jesus, I thought that was going to be a character beat.
Like
where
when
he's
Ray killed Chewie.
Yeah, Chewie! No, I seriously, I was like, what is gonna happen? Is that gonna be like a thing where he pauses? He's like, I've been too obsessed with hunting. I killed my brother because I was just
maybe that would be his dark turn. His brother.
That's also like the thing where like speaking of like where bad editing actually made this funnier.
Yes,
but
when they
the bad guys get away and they're like, all right, we're on the airplane.
Yeah,
and
they knock him.
Shows up running into the scene.
They knock him off of the side of a van. He rolls onto the side of the road. He looks up, and we've already seen that he can run at like 50 miles an hour.
But he doesn't run.
Nobody bats an eye at that. So they get to this dock where there's a helicopter waiting for them. They get onto the helicopter, and we see him just running.
We don't even see where he came from. He's just there.
He's there all of a sudden.
He fucking Lancelots into the
like a fucking slasher villain. He just shows up, and we start laughing really hard at that. And that like
so goofy.
It was so funny. I love all the goofy, cartoony shit in this movie.
But there wasn't enough of it.
Wasn't enough. Yeah.
They need to lean into it, you know, because they leaned into they only kind of leaned into the bloody deaths like in the last act, right? Like
there were a few. There was
a little bit of it.
On.
Yeah.
But when they were like just leaning into like we're an R-rated movie, we can get gory. But it feels like they didn't know whether or not they were actually going to be able to get away with the R rating. So they built it so that they could still make it a PG-13 movie, which is maybe why they didn't commit.
That's just a guess. I remember
guess.
like they didn't commit to it being an R movie until like a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we kind of thought like, oh, maybe it's so bad that they're like, we need to make it bloodier or something. We don't know what to do.
The thing that surprised me the most was when they said that they were going to drop it in December, which is typically when a studio will drop a movie that they think like, oh, it can compete. The only thing I can think is Gladiator's been out for long enough. There isn't really another action movie right now. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I feel like they might just be betting on like maybe somebody will want to not see a kids film and want to go see an R-rated film.
Yeah, maybe like, you know, there's some people taking the kids to see Sonic or something, or Mufasa, but like the teen kids, they don't want to see that. They want to see Kraven.
The thing is, those people will either be seeing Wicked or Nosferatu.
Yeah, when does Nosferatu? Is that
Christmas
soon?
Day?
Wow.
We can see that, like, I don't know if you guys are in town. I get back on, like, the 26th, so maybe we can see it later that weekend.
That'd be sick.
Like, in our theater was, like, no more than 20 people.
Yeah, I didn't even
I
notice.
think it was in the teens. Like you said, there were maybe 10 people behind us. There were, like, 6 or 7 nearby and / in front of us, so.
Because normally I'm, like, cautious of, like, where to put my bag in the theater, but I was like, I don't know if anyone's sitting next to us.
Nope.
I don't know how many people are in this theater.
Opening night? Come on, opening night.
Yeah, and we should note this is Friday night.
Oh my God, it is.
Yeah,
it's opening night of Kraven.
Opening weekend
at a very popular theater.
Yeah,
one of the larger theaters like by commerce in the area.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. So go see it.
If you really want to. Again, I do think waiting for streaming is the best option if you want to watch it.
Yeah,
unless you're like really into some wild man crime drama that really doesn't mesh particularly well and is just possibly one of the worst screenplays. Sometimes goofily so. Like my grandmother died, and after that I never saw her again.
That was such a good line.
Wait,
yes.
It was a wild line because I wrote out loud right after. I was like, yeah, she died.
She fucking died.
I usually don't talk during movies, but I really couldn't help myself.
Dumbest line I'd ever heard, and just before that, there was a whole other thing where she was poorly ADR'd in. Like, that sounds real. Wait, what was the line?
I don't like that at all.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, they're in like a helicopter, and like on set they weren't thinking about the helicopter being loud, I guess. So like they were clearly talking quietly, and then when they ADR'd it, they made her shout over the propellers.
So then just like either a few scenes, like just a couple minutes later, that line pops out, and I was already in my head like, wow, this is one of the weakest screenplays I've ever seen. Immediately that line's like, my grandmother died. After that, I never saw her again.
Yeah. And that's also like just before that, they had her like pick up a bow and arrow and establish that
you're not the only one who has secrets.
And establish in the third act that Kraven has an armory that they're going to use in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah,
because that's how this movie writes.
Chekhov's Kraven's armory.
5 minutes before it needs to be done.
Yeah.
But
I'm also pretty sure that like she had pushed the button to make all the knives and shit come down, and then the next scene they push it again to make them all come down.
Yeah,
again.
like oh, it's finally coming back.
I want to push it. I don't want to do it.
That's the thing you do when you set up something early in the film and then come back to it later. You don't do it 5 minutes before it's important.
Yeah,
that's bad writing.
Yeah, you know what? You're right, because we saw that before. He could have just, make an excuse to have him push the button or something so we know it exists.
He was in there before.
I will admit, I did like his little geodesic dome house. Like that place looked charming.
Like greenhouse.
Yeah,
that was nice.
But like she finds like a
bow.
Like
long bow.
Compact bow, I think.
Yeah.
And she draws it, and I was like, oh, decent form. Like I was actually surprised, and like that must mean something. And then he's like, whoa, what are you doing? It's like, you would recognize she knows how to use a bow. Instead, they have her go, I know how to use a bow. Actually, I know how to do things.
And she proved that she does by killing the superfluous villain.
Yeah. But like, and that's one of those moments where I rewrote it in my head. It's like, okay, no, you have him say, wow, nice form.
Yeah.
Where'd you learn? And she's like, I don't have to tell you everything.
But like, he doesn't like people. He's a little freak who doesn't know how to talk to women. So he's like, get away, put my thing down.
She also refers to her grandmother who practiced voodoo as a mystic, which feels off. I can't confirm that, but that feels off. But also, like this movie, like why did they decide that they had to appropriate voodoo?
I don't know.
In the year 2024, they released a film that appropriates voodoo. Like, you didn't need to do that and like do it barely.
We need this white man to be our savior.
Like they name dropped Papa
also
Legba.
Appropriate all the Russian, if we're gonna be honest. But
they're Russians. Who gives a shit?
Slippery slope, Stephan.
Nah.
What's more important is the Russian.
They also have a very strange thing where their dad is Russian. They live in London. They go to school in America. They establish all three of these things.
It was all there so that Aaron Taylor Johnson didn't have to put on an accent, despite the fact that he's
putting on an American accent and like it's really on and off.
Especially during reshoots. You can tell.
Especially then, but like throughout the whole film.
You can tell, like, there are certain scenes where it's like he has just a few more layers of clothing on because maybe he's like shooting something that isn't as athletically necessary at the time. Yeah. And so, like, and he's clearly not in it in some of those shots.
And the thing is, like, I've heard Aaron Taylor Johnson do a good American accent, like where it hasn't set off any alarm bells. Like it's just, but like throughout this film, like he's dipping into his natural accent a lot more, which is at that point. He lives in London. Why did you give an American accent in the first place?
Because you need the Americans to buy tickets, and we don't like limey fucks.
And also, like, his younger brother's his half-brother, he can still have an American accent while Aaron Taylor Johnson has a British accent, and it makes perfect sense. Like you didn't have to...
Dad and his brother is clearly a mimic. He can choose whatever voice he wants.
Yeah.
Side note, though, I do, something I noticed, because I don't really watch him in a lot of films, I do enjoy that he's, like, a taller, more like masculine looking guy that kind of has not a deep voice. He has like kind of just like a guy, average dude voice, and I kind of like that they didn't cast an actor with like a deeper mask because he's Kraven. He has to be like the most masculine, deep voiced guy, and that kind of plays into the plot of his dad wanting him to be more masculine.
He looks like a more cat-like Alexander Skarsgård. Like he just has that sort of cut to him.
Yeah. He funnily enough has more of a like 30-year-old Spider-Man build than a Kraven build.
Yes, I could see that.
I think he's too tall. Too tall for Spidey.
It depends on who's drawing Spidey.
I can see him as a superhero. Like I do enjoy him in the build as the speedster. What's his name? Quicksilver.
Quicksilver, yeah. But yeah, it's and like the thing is like again, I know that all these actors are good at acting, but like this movie's not doing them any favors, and it's not their fault.
Yeah.
I don't think the movie was poorly acted necessarily.
I thought the cinematography was pretty good.
I think the cinematography is good. I don't think the direction was bad.
Not always, yeah.
Yeah. The problem legitimately came down to the script and the edit. Whatever producer notes came in and whatever base script you had just was not it.
The pacing was insane.
You were not writing a Kraven movie.
Yeah, the pacing was almost scientifically engineered to make you not interested in what was happening.
It goes back to the main issue at hand, which is trying to turn all these villains into heroes. You have all of these characters that like aren't necessarily unreprehensible. I think you could like make a villain movie where there's still a bad guy by the end of it, but at least they're doing something. Like fucking Thanos, he was the protag of Infinity War. That was his story.
Well, and also it's a huge problem because Spider-Man's villains exist to complement Spider-Man. That is why they exist. They don't exist as their own characters.
Yeah,
and that includes fucking Venom, in my opinion. Like, some people argue with me, and I don't care. Venom is better when he's an antagonist for Spider-Man. And because that's what he was invented to do. He's just there to to be a counter to Spider-Man and who he is. And Kraven exists as a might makes right character that is completely counter to Spider-Man's ideology.
Yeah, he's there to hunt a prize that he deems as worthy of making him better.
Yeah, well, and he's again like morally opposed to Spider-Man, that he believes in might makes right, and like power means that I get a say over anything that happens around me. And Spider-Man believes I have power, so I should help people.
If I control whether you live or die, that means I'm better.
Yeah, and they're morally opposed, and like their ideology is fundamentally different. That's why Kraven exists.
Which is why it's so weird that the entire time his dad is essentially the character of Kraven.
Yes.
And he's fighting that throughout because he's not Kraven.
Yeah, I was thinking while we were watching it that I'm like, oh, the Kraven shorts we made, that's kind of who Russell Crowe's character is.
That's because the Kraven shorts we made were based on the character of Kraven. Fun fact.
It's specifically around Marvel Ultimate, like the one
before he turns into a cat.
Yeah, the reality show host.
Yeah,
I want to turn that into like what would be the modern day equivalent of that? Oh, it's the alpha bro, like dude man who does like supplements and eats testicles and shit.
The origin was like there's a version of Kraven that's like a modern Kraven. I came up with that like years ago and didn't do anything with it. And then Mark Swint, I was talking to him about it. He was like, yeah, he's like an alpha male influencer. That's who he is. And then I was just in a rut with the script, and then you decided to pick it up.
I don't remember. I don't think I ever talked to Mark about that.
No, I started writing scripts by then, and then you came in and started writing more scripts after.
Yeah, I wrote a completely separate thing.
Yeah, but I established the character of the alpha male thing based on what Mark Swint told, came up, and he was right. Like that's the right way to handle it.
That is the natural transition.
Yeah, and I wrote an original script for that, and then but I was like, I think I'm gonna give up on this, and then you decided to give it a shot.
Yeah, I went in cold and just took the concept and wrote a whole different thing.
But yeah, and we based that on the character of Kraven, which Russell Crowe more resembles the ideology of. And the thing is, I can see a version of that working as well if you make Russell Crowe Sergei Kravenov. Because the thing is, in the comics, there is a character who is Kraven's son, who is very much like Kraven, but not the same character.
And they pass down the...
So if you wanted to do that kind of story, I could see it working if you cast Russell Crowe as an older Kraven, like Sergei Kravenov, and cast Aaron Taylor Johnson as his son.
That would have been a cool twist. Yeah, where you think it's going to be him the whole time.
An interesting way to go about it, would have for sure. I think it
tried to adapt something.
Yeah. I think it would have been weird for audiences for sure.
But audiences aren't watching it anyway. So.
I know. But I can see why the producers would nix that idea. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's a hard sell.
But to be clear, the producers were wrong about most of everything this movie.
The fact of you're taking...
The producers made this movie happen, and they were wrong to do that.
The fact that you're taking these villains and trying to turn them into heroes was the big problem in the first place.
This movie should not exist. It doesn't have a right to exist. Same with Madam Web.
I would much rather Kraven have shown up in a Spider-Man movie, for sure.
It's a huge bummer.
Spider-Man 2, the video game, is a much better Kraven because it's a Kraven.
I haven't played it, but no, it's a huge bummer that we're robbed of a good version of Kraven in the Tom Holland films now, because we could have gotten that story as a follow-up to Far From Home, and I think gotten a much better sequel out of it. And I get that people that No Way Home is a fun movie, but it's not the best sequel to those films.
Do you think that this experiment with the Sinister Six universe poisons the ability for them to draw any of these characters into the MCU with Spider-Man because of them?
Luckily, no. Specifically because nobody fucking cares.
That's true.
Now, I don't think they can touch Madam Web, but I don't want them to anyway. I think Madam Web sucks.
I think we need Madam Web 2 immediately. Can I say something about Madam Web? I had a bit that I was going to do where I thought I wasn't going to have anything to say about this fucking movie, and I was going to keep, like, say 3 things the whole time we're talking, where I just talk about, Madam Web came out in this year, and this, and I would just keep bringing up Madam Web.
But turns out this movie's enough of a mess to be...
There's a lot
plenty to talk about.
Yeah, I like Kitty Ab Man.
Kitty Ab Man. Kitty Ab Man.
Madam Web, I love that they did, like, Sydney Sweeney did this movie, Madam Web, in order to, like, get funding for another movie that she did.
Yeah, I'm wondering what they had on Aaron Taylor Johnson. It might have just been like we signed you to something picture deal, so come do Kraven.
Yeah, because that's why some actors do certain things. That you're like, why did they do that? You know, sometimes it's, you know, shaking hands and making friends with the right people.
It's like, hey, I want to do this movie. Okay, can we get you for 5 pictures?
Yeah.
I mean, one for me, one for them, one for me. Like,
right.
That's the whole thing.
It makes sense. And so I'm glad she got the other movie funded, because I think that was Immaculate, right?
It was Immaculate,
and Immaculate was great, so I'm glad that it worked out. But it sucks that, like, they did kind of like the Dear Evan Hansen effect on her, where they tried to make her look younger. A woman who's already famous for playing a teenager. They needed to make her look like a teenager, so they dyed her hair, put her in overalls, and gave her glasses.
And gave her a schoolgirl outfit.
Yeah, so she looks older. She looks older than a teenager, because they tried to make her look like a teenager.
Megan Fox in that second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes, she looks crazy in it, and I love her. And you know what? I respect the grind. You know what I mean? I respect being in a movie that you're like, oh, this might not be my best thing.
She looked like she was having fun doing it. So, like, you know what? Embrace that.
And very funny that she thought she was in the MCU until an interviewer told her otherwise.
Oh, I'm not? Yeah. And there's, like, I felt the same way about the dude that played Rhino in Kraven, where it's like, he's having fun. Look at him, he's having fun.
I respect it.
There's one where they're like Kraven escaped, and he just goes...
That's not an exaggeration.
No, yeah, he literally does that.
It's so good.
And then he goes, hello. And I appreciate the camp the guy was bringing to the ball.
He was crazy.
Oh, he's sly like a fox.
He was like doing little
sneaky like a panther.
And the Rhino character calls the foreigner a freak, and that's so funny.
Yeah,
I love he fully was in it.
The other superfluous villain, where they just added a scene of him sneaking into like walking. It's like, oh, look at you, you freak. There was one scene that I actually really liked. It was his in plain sight stealth moment where he was just like right behind the guards. And
that was so funny. I was cracking up. Yeah.
I liked that.
I started just humming dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, it was a Metal Gear moment where he's like, like
literally
he's walking
right
in pace right behind people
and doing that thing that they do in like
side, so they, like, I'm just out of your peripheral,
like Aang in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yep. I liked that scene.
Yes.
I thought that was fun.
But then they had him fail his stealth check, so that he still had an action scene.
He was done with the parts where he really needed to be sneaky. The biggest problem is the hunter isn't hunting a lot. He gets hunted for the entire second half of the movie.
Yeah, and he says he's a hunter more than he actually hunts.
Yeah, but he's got a list.
And also,
when you're on that list,
you better check it twice.
You don't go. You're never off until you're dead.
You never get off the list, even when you're dead. I did also like the scene in like when he first started the list, and he's sitting in that office, and he's like, "Where's my boss?" You're standing in him, and then he's like, "So what's your name?" Oh, there you are. Finds him in the bad guy's ledger, shoots him, pins him to the wall, pins him to the door with a crossbow bolt. The door closes. There's his boss. I liked that bit.
Yeah.
I think that was cute.
That scene is when I realized I'm sexually attracted to him. And it was all downhill from there. I was like, oh, is he kind of hot? Because he was just like very casually not looking at the guy, flipping through, licking his fingers, touching the, flicked off the pen.
There is a better movie in there somewhere.
Yes.
I've seen, like, all of the scenes. There are so many scenes in there that I actually found kind of fun, but it's dragged down by the awful reshoots, the premise, and
like the way it's paced. Like I think there's a version of the film that it, like just like if I were to hand the footage and told to re-edit the film, I think I could edit it into something shorter and stronger and more consistently fun. But like it still wouldn't be a great movie. It would just be better. because I think the footage is there to make a better film. But like, it got noted to death. It had 3 screenwriters who I don't think were talking to each other,
especially near the end. I'm sure by the end of like that first year of hiatus, it was just one guy at that point, and it's just like, okay, I need to make sure that we reiterate this note for the 15th time. Hunter has a list, something, blah, blah,
One of the
blah,
things
Calypso.
is maybe like other scenes that had established it before were cut and then brought back in. Like, who knows how it happened? Like, I'm not saying those screenwriters are bad, because we don't know how the process went.
I don't necessarily.
I am saying the producers are bad.
I do think the end result does not look good on the screenwriter's resume.
No, but luckily, no one's going to see it anyway.
There's a what's it called? Guy Fieri has a show where he has a little shopping cart and like they're like, put in ingredients.
Grocery games.
Yeah. There's a round of that I saw on TV where you have 3 members of a team. One of them, they don't get to hear anything. One of them, while the other 2 are in a soundproof booth, goes in, knows what the recipe is, starts making it. Then they tag that guy out. The second guy comes in, does his thing. Then the third guy comes in.
And they have to figure out what each other are making?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what this
like a game of
movie
telephone
feels
with
like.
cooking.
Yeah, that's what this movie feels like. It feels like, I don't know if they talk to each other, but it feels like they did.
That's often how overnoted and like written and rewritten films are. Like that, like when you see a film with like 5 writers, that's usually a really bad sign.
And it's a shame, because like any one of these individual guys could make something really fucking cool.
Possibly.
But I just don't know.
I don't know who did what scenes, because they were so tonally inconsistent. Some of the scenes I really liked. Some of the scenes I'm just like, Jesus Christ, fucking end.
And we also don't know what scenes were rewritten on set. Like, because of some sort of producer note where like there wasn't a writer there at all.
You should say her name 3 more times.
Yeah.
Do Beetlejuice. People like Beetlejuice.
The audience needs to know what her name is.
And all that is just to be genuinely fair to like the people who
What's this?
did their jobs.
What's this about a list? I haven't seen a single scene where they talk about the list. Have them talk about the list.
Talk about the list. You should say he's a hunter, Calypso.
When you're on that list, you don't get off it. God.
Yeah.
Somebody say it.
And it also falls into like the very common trap of feeling like you have to have a big climactic MCU ending to a film that it doesn't need to be that. Like, and this is usually an MCU problem, but it's a problem here too, where like it didn't need to be like as like bombastic as it was, and it still wasn't as big as like most MCU films. But
I didn't mind the Buffalo Bros coming back in to help him against his fight with the Rhino. I didn't mind the fight with Rhino. I don't even mind how Rhino looked. I think that for a on-screen version of the Rhino, his over-calloused, weird-looking body was fine.
I think that was okay. He looked so ugly that I kept laughing whenever he was on screen.
I love that they gave him monster voice too. Kraven!
He is a spiritual successor to the Amazing Spider-Man version of Lizard, where it's ugly and would not be acceptable.
But all of his
in a
scenes
good movie.
But all of his scenes are in broad daylight too.
Yeah.
So.
At least with the lizard, he's hiding in the sewer.
They were brave for doing that.
By the way, in the first wildebeest scene, did you guys also think it was almost shot for shot the Lion King for like a couple seconds?
I didn't.
That was another scene that I actually kind of liked. There was that visual, like when he was just kind of standing there and all of them were like running around him and he was just like looking at the one. I'm like, I like that visual.
Yeah, I like that.
It was
as
something.
a Beastmaster character, that's neat. As Kraven, it does like
doesn't make any sense.
I stopped caring about him being Kraven like as soon as he became the Beastmaster, and as soon as we established that, I'm like, this is a Beastmaster movie. He's just a wild man now. Whatever.
At some point during the film, I whispered it too, and you were like, yeah.
Because I also wasn't sure who he was at that point because it was early in the movie.
He was Kraven.
So, is he a hunter? Because when he was looking at it, part of me was like, is he just gonna fucking knife the buffalo that he's been staring at for like 15 seconds?
Yeah.
So I did like we were saying, it's not Kraven, but this version of Kraven, I like that. So I liked when the buffalo came back.
Yeah, he's basically Russian Tarzan. Like just wild man, lives with nature, wrestles with big cats.
That was cute. I liked
I did like him wrestling with the Panthers or the Jaguars.
I was almost thinking and hoping for a reveal where he was like, oh, this is my buddy.
This is my wife.
This is my wife.
I was confused what their relationship was.
I've known her since she was a kitten. So he's fine.
I thought it was gonna be a reveal that like he has like a little pet leopard that he hangs out with.
It just has animal companions.
And the thing is, like, that would have been a genuinely endearing thing to give him.
Yeah.
As opposed to very little.
It seems like that's kind of what he has. He's just friends with all of his animal bros.
Yeah, it just wasn't very well established in the
No, it wasn't, because they didn't spend any time on any of the fun
They just had him be
things.
like, I've seen that guy since she was a cub, and like,
You do not hunt me. No, you go.
Yeah.
All right.
And it would have been more fun if he had a name for her, and like it was like more of a thing where it's like, oh, he's got like a cuddly side.
Honey.
We've
been married. He's a wife guy. We've been married 4 years. We think that Calypso is going to be the love interest, and then he just has a leopard wife or a jaguar wife.
And I have to address. They also kept being like, there's a doctor in New York, and you thought it was going to be Michael Morbius.
I was so excited. I was pumped for it to be fucking Morbius.
They name drop him really early on.
It's Miles Warren who is the Jackal, and everybody who knows the comics just sighed. Yeah. Everybody who knows the comics and the story of the Jackal just sighed heavily at that.
He helps people make up.
Linkara just head desked.
I love the Jackal. He makes people ugly.
But it's like, how many?
What if you were so ugly?
How many other characters can they possibly like dip into? Like, that's the one guy they can go into.
I wonder if Miles Warren was also established in Morbius. Now that none of us have seen it.
That's true.
I don't know. Tell us in the comments. Tell us.
Yeah, was Miles Warren also established in Morbius? He's already a doctor, so I don't think they would. But
I was waiting for them to name drop literally any other character in this Sinister Six universe, but they just didn't.
No, I mean they've established Chameleon, Kraven.
Well, yeah, but those are characters that they established.
Yeah.
Like, they kept adding characters. Every time a new person would show up, it's like, Jesus Christ, how condensed does this plot have to be?
Yeah, I think when the final villain was shown like an hour into the film,
yeah,
I was like, how many fucking characters are in this movie?
Yeah, when they added like time-stopping assassin, it's like, fuck, stop.
Also, I gotta point out, they have an older brother little brother relationship with him, like him and his younger brother. Yeah, and they basically did the Sasuke thing, but with ear flicking.
Come find me, little brother.
Now Chameleon is going to be.
And that would have made him more like Kraven. He was like, to test my power. That would be a Kraven thing.
Squish. Break his neck.
Yeah, they directionless, like not necessarily soulless. I see soul somewhere, but it's just
you do.
But don't watch it. Don't watch it. Don't give me your money. They already canceled this like whole end of the universe, which
wait for it to be on Netflix.
Yeah,
just wait. Be patient.
Yeah. They canceled it before the movie came out, right? They were like,
they canceled it the day after they refunded my tickets, because I think they saw the preview numbers and like, just hit send on the post. Release the news. Just the fact that they released that news before the movie drops.
Yeah.
Is such a death knell.
It's very funny. And and good riddance. I'm so glad we're not going to see more films like this anymore. I'm so glad that it happened before they tried to make the Aunt May origin film they were talking about.
Wasn't that already in Madam Web?
No.
But
like
Peter
it was going to be a thing where Aunt May was like a spy in the past.
Oh God!
I'm so glad they didn't do it. I hate when Peter Parker's family members are made into like super spies and shit. I fucking hate it. He's a normal guy. That's his entire appeal. Just let him be normal.
I agree. Be normal, Peter.
I'm kind of okay with his dad having been a scientist. Nothing more than that, please.
So yeah, that's Kraven. Are you Kraven more? Let us know in the comments.
Are you serving Hunt?
Yas, Hunty.
How do you serve Hunt in a Kraven way? I need a list. Once you're on that list, you don't come back off it.
You never get off.
You never get off until Kraven says so.
You get off when you're dead.
That's when Kraven says you can get off.
The fact that you first became attracted to him when he killed somebody is very similar to when we were watching Angel. And the first time you were attracted to Wesley was when he went, I'll take away your bucket, to a woman he'd been keeping in his closet.
Yeah. Wesley gets hot in Angel. It's fucked up.
Good night.
Bye.
talk about that for about as long as we talked about Wicked.